everyone. Welcome to our Women in Geek Media panel. We're all really excited to be here, and we're all really excited that so many of you are here, because we were like, it's going to be like 2 rows, and now there's so many rows of you. So I know it's late, and we're really happy that you guys are here on a Friday night. On this panel, we don't really want to spend the whole time like bitching or complaining about the shitty stuff that's going on right now, because we all know about it. So while we might touch on it briefly, we want to spend some time talking about the positive, like positive ways that you can support other women going into this, ways to get into it yourself, that kind of thing. For us personally, it's really important to have female voices in geek media, and not just female voices, but just diverse voices in general. And so we're going to talk about that, and we'll have time for questions at the end. But I guess now we should probably start with some introductions so you guys know who we all are. My name is Katey Hausman, Katey Lee on my website. I started a website called Bitch Team Alpha earlier this year. We're a network of podcasts, so we talk a lot about all aspects of geek culture. I am the host of Heroine, which is a gaming podcast, but we have a whole lot of other stuff too. And a lot of them are here in the audience, a lot of other hosts. Yeah. Yay.
Hi everyone, my name is Asia, but online I use the moniker Twitty Such. I write for a website called The Rainbow Hub, which is an LGBT website that has all sorts of different things on there, but I do pop culture and my experience of being an Arab American queer woman. And I also am on YouTube, and I post videos on YouTube. That's what I do.
My name is Melissa Kay. I'm the quad skater on Twitter. I do a couple different things. I used to write for PressReset.com, and I still podcast with them.
Yeah.
Transmission.
Yeah, you do.
We had our 168th episode, just like a once a week thing, so we've been doing it for a long time. And then I also do contributions to Can't Talk Media, which is another newer outlet. And then I do some freelance stuff too, which is not as fun, but it's still cool.
My name is Brittany Brownbacher. I run blogger.com. It's a video game blog, and I showcase all of my weirdness on there. I collect video games, so I do some YouTube videos. I dabbled in some We're Alive stuff. Some of you may be familiar with We're Not Dead. I hosted that with Greg Miller for a couple years, and yeah.
Oh, stop moving. All right. Lean forward. I'm Danni Danger, and I'm Danni Danger, and I am the comic book correspondent for Weird Girls. We do comic book reviews. We talk about pull lists. We talk about social events that are happening in the comic book world and how they affect overall the geek community. And I am the brand new geek news newscaster for the Daily.media.
Hi, my name is Mia Moore. I blog at a couple different places. I blog at my own blog, xoMia, where I talk about style, cosplay, and just live in the geek life. I also co-founded Superheroesque, which is kind of like a geeky self-love website. And my co-founder is Liz Loxley, and she's here, so I just want to give her a plug. Woo! And I also write for Subcultured. So I write a couple different places. I'm kind of a geek of all trades, so I like comics, I like, what else do I like? Everything, really.
All the things.
I'm a little nervous, I forgot what I like.
And I'd also maybe like to talk a little bit about how we got started, because I know some of us have been doing it a lot longer, and we all work in different kinds of media up here too. So for me, for Bitch Team Alpha, I just started it to kind of have an outlet from my day job. And literally we just like got headsets and decided to record through GarageBand one night, and then that's kind of how we started. We just set a schedule and started doing it semi-regularly, but I think other people might have had more interesting experiences than me.
So I started on YouTube in 2009, and I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft, and I would just record these really dumb videos about how much I didn't like something, and that's where I kind of got my start, was complaining about World of Warcraft. And then I had friends that started to play, and they didn't know how to play, so I would show them the right way, okay? Like, there's a right way to play. So I would just make videos of that, and now it's just like, I do Let's Plays and stuff like that. So anything I find interesting, stuff that I would want to see is what I put on YouTube.
I got started just by looking at podcasts on my phone and coming across Girl Fight, which was really amazing. And so then I went from there to the IGN website and found the My IGN community and just started blogging on there, and that's where I met like so many people, and like we were just talking like, hey, didn't we meet like 5 years ago? And I'm like, yeah. So we did that, and then just kind of like a small collective of us kind of moved on from that and started doing our own thing. So that's how we started our own website and podcast, and we just do it for fun. It's like a good weekly outlet, and we get to come do PAX and fun stuff. So not too exciting.
Well, I started blogging on my IGN in 2009, and I found myself in a really boring, dead-end job where everyone walked around with sticks up their asses, and that was not a pleasant environment to be around. So I too needed an outlet, and I needed something that made me feel like I was actually working for something I found pleasure in, and that ended up being blogging. And I started blogging on IGN, and accrued a small following until I ultimately started my own website, which is blogger.com, and that's been my baby ever since. I've nurtured it from like nothing to what it is today, and it allows me to do conventions like this, and that's my story.
I love origin stories. So I really liked comic books, got into comic books, and for a long time had wanted to do a YouTube series or a video series where I reviewed them, because my really big passion was like finding the person who didn't think that they belonged at the comic book shop and making sure that they left with something in their hand. So I wanted to make a series that sort of accomplished this as well. I talked about it for years and for a couple of years, and then my manager at the comic book shop at Austin Books and Comics called me and was like, "Hey, I've got this guy who wants to do this series, and he's looking for someone to host it." So it was all very fortuitous the way it all came together. But once finding someone to help you do the thing is not the hard part. The hard part is, okay, well now I have to script all of this original content and write something I've never written before. And so that was the real challenge in getting all of this off the ground, was figuring out what I wanted to do and really honing it in.
Well, my story is a little different because I didn't think I wanted to talk about geek stuff at first. I knew I wanted to start a blog. I found reading other people's blogs really fascinating because I kind of like people watching. It's like the same thing. And I started as a fashion blog, which is crazy because I'm not even like that good at fashion. I was just like, oh, well, that's something I can talk about. And that's what I thought most blogs were, was like fashion and beauty. And then I got into the community a little more, and I started finding other really cool geek girl bloggers like the Nerdy Girly and people like that who like just blog about San Diego Comic-Con or just blog about video games. And I was like, oh, I can talk about whatever I want. It doesn't have to be this like set formula. And I started blogging more about conventions that I go to and cosplay that I make, and that started doing really well because I don't think there's a ton of people talking about that, and I'd love to see more of it. So now I just blog about stuff that I would like to read about, which now has shifted from like people's outfits to more like a little bit deeper stuff and a little bit more like fun, geeky stuff. Like a day in the life of a geek is way more fascinating to me now than just what they wore. I'd like to see both. And then we started Superheroesque in mind because we were thinking, what is a resource that we would like to give people that were kind of in our spot when we were like 13 and 14, and we were like, we're not geeky enough to call ourselves geeks, and we're not real geeks because we don't like this, and all these like, this time when you're already going through so much that's difficult, like what can we give to people to show them like it's okay, there's so many different ways to be a geek, and kind of be a collection of essays and videos, multimedia, like kind of guiding, like self-help almost, but like better than that. And so we came up with Superheroesque, and the slogan is like, become your own superhero, and that started last year in February, and that kind of just came about as a collaborative project between me and Liz.
Cool. Well, I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about some of our biggest hurdles getting started, and I think that interestingly enough, from what I've heard, a lot of those are kind of like self-perceived hurdles sometimes, and not necessarily ones that other people are throwing at you. So, if you have anything like that to share? Yeah.
It definitely took a long time. I had to start watching my videos. Like when I would watch my own videos, I had to start forcing myself to be in the state of mind that I was watching a stranger, because when you're looking at yourself on camera, a million things that no one will ever know. Like, oh my god, my face looks really funny from that angle, but only that angle. If I turn just a hair to the right, it's fine. And you have to let that go. Like, you just have to get over it. Otherwise, you're never going to be successful on camera. You're never going to be comfortable on camera. And it's going to come off. The camera picks up on is so sensitive to everything that you're feeling that if you don't just put that out of your mind, it'll be your biggest. It was my biggest hurdle for a long time.
One of my biggest hurdles is, those of you that know me IRL, I'm really like loud, crazy, and that my personality comes across in my YouTube videos. So I got a lot of comments from people when I would, from people that didn't really know me when I would guest on other people's channels, and they would say, oh, this chick's trying too hard, what is she doing? She's so obnoxious, she's so loud, blah, blah, blah. And for a little while, I'd have to question, like, am I really trying too hard? Maybe I'm coming across the way I'm not, you know? And then I have to remind myself that I'm just doing me and I'm just being who I am, and that's how I come across on camera and in my writing and all that. So the biggest hurdle for me was for me to just accept that I am the way I am, and if other people think I'm trying too hard, that's their fault, not mine. And just coming to peace with that I do come across really crazy and loud, and some people don't like that, and that's fine, but that's just me, and that's acceptable in life. Yeah. So.
For me, it was definitely like being true to myself, like being authentic. I mean, I've been in a position where people have like offered me games to review, and it kind of sucked, and I was like, I don't know how to tell you that your game is bad without hurting your feelings, and then I don't want to be the type of person that reviews something and says that it's good, because people know when you're not being authentic. They can like smell that like a mile away. They know, and just, you know, telling myself that if there's something that I don't want to do, even if it's an opportunity, it doesn't mean it's a good one, that you have to take it. It's not like no one is never going to work with you because you didn't review their game or you didn't do this or do that. You are, with things like YouTube and blogging, you are free to take up and not take up anything that you want. The only person that you're going to hurt in the end is yourself. You don't need to constantly be creating content if it's not what you would want to watch. So basically, me making videos I wanted to see was the biggest thing, because I was so obsessed with like, well, what do other people want to see? I don't care. I mean, I care, but not so much that it's gonna keep me up at night, where I'm gonna put out like 4 or 5 videos a day, hoping that it will attract somebody. Like, just putting out what you think is what you would want to see, and knowing that you're authentic that was like the hardest thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like kind of building off that. That's kind of what, just for me, kind of forces me to want to produce more content, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes I don't know, it's really hard to find the drive when you just don't necessarily feel like it one day.
And it's not like you're relying on it for your income or anything, so there's no outside motivator.
And there's no boss to come into your room and be like, you need to film something now.
I know. So sometimes, for me, it's really hard to find motivation. I actually find a lot of my motivation in like a lot of the women that I asked to be on this panel. And that's like kind of cool, looking into your own community for that kind of thing. That's like my biggest motivator. I don't know. Why do you guys want to produce more content all the time?
It keeps me sane.
Yeah. The whole reason why you started your website.
So it's funny because I don't want to say I find self-worth in my blogging, but it definitely fulfills like a void, if you know what I mean. It's something that it's like, I feel if I blogged a lot, I produced a lot of content, I feel good. I feel like, you know, I always want to continue moving forward. So in order to do that, I have to work my ass off, and I have to make sacrifices, and you have to just work. And if I don't do that, I get like depressed, and I find myself sulking. I can't enjoy gaming. I can't do anything. All I can think about is like this blog post I should do or this video I should do. So I would say it's my drive that keeps me motivated. And every now and then I'll get an email from a girl or, you know, a woman, and she'll just say, you know, I really appreciate what you do because you just have this, I don't give a, can you say? Okay.
God, I hope so.
I don't give a fuck attitude, and that's what I think comes across as genuine and authentic. And the fact that I can just help other girls, you know, see that it's not that dangerous, and that there are other women that will support you. That is also a really like positive side for it.
Yeah.
I think on like the flip side of that, one of the challenges that I have doing it is that I'm almost like the opposite of you in that I feel like I'm quieter and more shy and not like so out there, and so being faced, no, I mean it in a good way, but I mean like when you compare yourself, which is a thing that we shouldn't do, but we do it all the time, is when you compare yourself to other people and you're like, wow, they're so great, and like how do I be like them, or like who cares about me being on a panel, you know what I mean, like just all these like self-conscious things. So for me it's like kind of overcoming those self-conscious things, whether it's like body image or just like you're worried you have like the wrong opinion or having to face having like a certain sort of opinion, but then like creating content allows you to connect with other people and then make friends who are like-minded or not even like-minded, and then just growing that base of just friendship. So that's what it's in it for me, is I like to hang out with cool people, and that's why I do it. So.
I have this like, I'm very competitive, but not in like the usual way that I think a lot of people are competitive. And long before I did this, and even before I moved to Austin, I worked in a lot of industries where it was very, very natural for women to compete with each other, but not in the healthy way where we should, you know, use other women being successful as a platform to motivate ourselves to do better and to challenge us to do better. Yeah. But in the other way, the bad way, the bitch way. And so, you know, that was a really big thing for me when I first got into this, was looking at what, you know, my female counterparts were doing, and for a while there was that knee-jerk reaction of somebody else out, there's another girl comic book blogger out there, but there's also there's also the other, you know, the really good thing about the way that YouTube and the social media network works is that the more people that are doing something similar to what I'm doing, the more successful I'm actually likely to be. Because if you go down YouTube and you watch somebody's video who's similar to mine, my video is going to pop up in that feed. So there was also this reprogramming in my brain of, hey, there is a situation where women can compete with one another and it be very healthy and beneficial to both. And so I do, like, when I need to be motivated, I get on Facebook or I get on Twitter and I look and see what other women that I admire in the industry are doing. I've actually done it to me a few times.
I'm not a good example. Thank you.
But yeah, like just letting other women's projects motivate you and to say like, oh, this person's doing something really awesome. I'm going to give her a run for her money.
Oh, goodness.
Because while you were sitting on your ass, someone else was working twice as hard.
Yeah. But like, I don't know, I think the supportive element is really important, because something that I truly believe is that we all have a voice that's important, and with the internet, it's not like there's a bottleneck to how many people can get out there. No longer do you have to go through a publisher or through like some big company and only a limited number of people can go through. Now it's anybody that has a computer, that has a phone, can vlog or blog or whatever it is you want to do. And so to me, one of my like intrinsic motivators is I think everyone should be comfortable having a voice, and if me blogging helps one person, like a girl who's followed my blog for like since the beginning almost, told me that the only reason she cosplayed, even though she's been to San Diego Comic Con for like 14 years or something, the only reason she cosplayed is because I talked about it like it was accessible. And I was like, well, it is, but you don't necessarily know that if you're not already in the community. So like that made me like so happy, because if my story or my experiences can help even one person, then it's like I'm doing my job. And I think the more we put out there, the more we'll see from all kinds of people, and that's what I want to see.
And girls in geek media are still very, very much needed, because there are still little girls out there who don't know that it's okay for them to cosplay or to be, like there are still girls out there who are playing video games with their brothers thinking, oh, this is really weird, I must be some sort of freak of nature. And there's, you know, a few of us up here being like, no, you're not, seriously. And we need more voices like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's super important to be supportive. Honestly, like, my year has been kind of crazy, and it's mostly because of some of my friends that are in the audience and just like helping me out. We're working on a potential partnership too between some of our sites, and all that kind of stuff is really, really important, because it can only benefit you by helping push other people's voices out there, because the more and more common it is, the more and more people are going to be, like Danny said, exposed to you and your friend and that other girl across the country, and not just like one person at the one major outlet who doesn't speak for everybody. Like, we don't even speak for everybody in this room, so it's super important that you support everyone that you can, really.
Yeah.
And obviously, I want to spend a couple minutes talking about why representation is important. Yeah, I mean, we had a good rant about this at dinner before the panel, a little bit in a few different aspects, so.
Alright, so I think I'm a good person to talk about this because I'm 26 years old this year. I'll be in March 7th. That will be my birthday. I accept gifts. Cake also is fine. I'll give you my address later. So basically, the first time I had ever seen a positive portrayal of an Arab woman was when I was like 23 years old. And it was on a Canadian TV show that I watched via YouTube. I had never seen it before. And the day I found out about the new Miss Marvel, I'm not ashamed to admit it, I cried. Like, I had been waiting for Kamala Khan for years. Like, I had never felt what it would be like to see myself, and that is so important, especially if you're a minority. I am. Growing up, and I grew up in a really, really small town in Florida. I was literally the only Arab person at my school. I didn't know all of the things that I could achieve because I felt like that was for people who were not me. And so now I can be a superhero, and like every little girl that looks like Miss Marvel can be a superhero. The portrayal I was talking about earlier was from this show called Little Mosque on the Prairie. It's super cute. Yes, so good. But like, I didn't know that like I had the option to be a doctor, and I didn't know that this was something that I could do. I had never seen myself in any sort of job. I didn't know this was a thing, so I kind of had to make it myself. And I was approached by my editor, Corey, because she had never met a queer Muslim before. And I'm not practicing, but it's like, I haven't either, and that's a huge problem. Like, the world is too big to think that you have to wander around by yourself. It really is. Like, representation is so important. Like, if I can just be that one person for like that one Muslim teenager in Oklahoma, that's all I need. Like, I don't need the views, I don't need the subscriptions. If I can just be that for someone, that's really all, that's what motivates me, is just the opportunity to be that person for just someone.
So, we talk about this a lot with comic book reviews. At the end of the day, like, I'm looking at this audience and I'm seeing what real people look like. All different shapes, all different sizes, all different colors. Why then do I open a comic book and see all white people? That's just bad storytelling, period. I want my art, it's just like Neil Gaiman said, make good art. Part of good art is making art that looks real, that doesn't strike you as weird when you look at a crowd full of 400 white people. Where do you live, Wesley?
I mean, there are places, like, I've been one of those places, so I get it. But, yeah, this isn't really my story to tell, but I think it's really powerful. I have a friend, she's Princess Mentality Cosplay, and she's a black cosplayer, and she's beautiful. And her cosplays are amazing. And she said she was cosplaying at a convention, and a younger black girl comes up to her and she goes, I didn't know black girls were allowed to cosplay. And it broke my heart. But then she said it like excitedly, but still, that's like still the saddest thing I've ever heard. Like, yeah, of course you're allowed, everyone's allowed, we're just playing dress up.
It's not that serious, guys. It's business cosplay.
I think that actually says a lot about the way that we treat anyone from any minority group, that someone from a minority group would assume that that activity is not for them because they are a minority. How sad is that? Like, what does that say about, what does that say about like our society and how we treat people, that everyone doesn't automatically feel included if they're not of a certain like ethnicity or background?
But that's why we need to, like, that's why I think it's so important that anybody can make a blog, that anybody can do this internet stuff. Like, even if you're just on Twitter, like, your voice is important. And, you know, if you want to find people that are like-minded, that's the way to do it. It's so easy, and I've met some of the best people. I met you all through Twitter. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Some of the best people.
And I think that's also a little bit specifically why having diverse voices in geek media is important. Like, I'm obviously like a white person, right? But like I try and like bring like guests on or try and talk about things that other people experience, just because I'm, you know, in the grand scheme of things, like I'm pretty privileged and I recognize that, but I also do know a little bit about what it's like to not always feel privileged. Like when I grew up in a tiny small town, I was literally the only girl that played video games probably in that entire city. So I think that knowing that helps you bring out the voices of people that need to be heard. And I think that a lot of you guys reflect that in your work too.
Yeah, I think one of the best things you can do is share other people's work. You know, be supportive of them in multiple ways, but like retweeting or just sharing articles. Like, if there's somebody who says something important, especially if it's something you feel like you can't say as a white person or as a dude or as like whatever group you're not a part of, then support their work and spread what they have to say around, because it's important and they might not have the visibility you do, or you might just help them reach the person that needs to see it for them to get, like, to make it go viral or something. Like, the best thing you can do is support other people's voices.
Yeah, signal boosting is really important.
And I was going to say, I think it's important that we, the consumers, put pressure on the industries as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the industry, like, mine, I don't know shit about the comic industry, no, you know, whatever, but I'm big in the video game industry, and I was getting my hair done the other day. It's totally natural. And my hairstylist was asking me about video games. And I said that, you know, I was a blogger, I was a member of the industry, and he was like, it's not just for, like, you know, teenage boys releasing their, like, teenage angst and anger. I mean, he was dead serious about it. He wasn't making fun. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, what would make him think this way? And then I thought about the media he's, you know, he sees on TV, and it's usually, you know, a bunch of dude bros, like, throwing out to Call of Duty. And that's fine. Like, I love doing that myself. You know, scratch my notes, whatever. It's great. But it's just... but that's what he sees, and he has a daughter, and if he sees that, he's never gonna want to introduce his daughter to that, because, you know, that's all he knows is what he sees. And the industry is making tons of money, tons of money, and it's comfortable where it's at. But if we don't put pressure for them to change, and if we don't start including other voices, they're just remaining stagnant. So get on that.
And just to kind of expand on like the supporting other like diverse creators. I'm coming from YouTube, and has anybody ever, show of hands, have you seen the comment section on YouTube? Anybody? It's a great place to be, am I right? No, it's horrifying. But if I see like a female creator or a creator of color and they're just getting slammed in the comments, the best thing you can do when you see that, instead of being like, no, YouTube comments, leave a nice comment. Like, that's happened to me. I've had people come to my videos just ready to go. And I've had somebody, I have no idea, like, we'll just leave them like, I like this video, or like, they'll give me a thumbs up, or like, you know, subscribe to my channel or something. It's like those small things, because I remember the nice comments. I mean, I can recall some pretty mean ones, but like, when I see a nice comment, and it's sad to say, it's so out of place that I'm willing to remember it. So when I see someone having a hard time in the comments of like Twitch or YouTube, I'm gonna leave them a nice comment, because like, it's like, I see what you're doing. I know how long it takes to make a YouTube video. People think it's not, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time. Also, I'm lazy, but like, I want to like reward them, so to speak, for all of that work. And if I know that people are coming to shit on it just for the sake of it, I'm probably going to just go ahead and leave them a nice comment. I've never in my, been on since 2009, 1,000 years on YouTube, I have never left a nasty comment. Not once. It doesn't help the conversation, it doesn't make the videos better, it doesn't make me feel good. I mean, I'm sure there are people that get like rage boners off of it, but like, I don't see what it adds to the conversation, because that's what YouTube is. It's just another way of making a conversation. I have not once left a nasty comment. I've not once left a hateful comment. Twitter arguments aside, but like, I've never done that. I do not see the appeal. I don't see how it helps. Like, you telling me I'm like a bitch, C-word, because you don't like what I have to say about World of Warcraft, that does not make me stop making videos. If anything, I'm gonna make 2 World of Warcraft videos now, so more views for me.
I think that also doing the positive commenting thing works outside, like, not just in a commenting, like, on YouTube scenario, but, like, I play a lot of League of Legends, and just, like, I think everyone knows who plays League of Legends, the type of community that you kind of have to feel.
Commenters.
Yeah, so, I mean, especially if you're playing in games with some random people, like, it guaranteed every day you're gonna come across that, you know, one person who's just being like super, super rude and offensive, and it's so easy to be like, God, just suck it, asshole, like, just stop. But like, actually there's been a few times, and I took the cue from another friend that we play with, and he's like always super nice, and I'm like, oh. I should do that. But like, and just like saying like, you know, that's kind of uncalled for. Like sometimes they actually respond positively to that, and they're like, you know, you're right, I'm having a bad day, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I mean, that, like I said, it doesn't work in all situations, but sometimes just kind of addressing that, like you're kind of being a dick, and that's not cool, but in like a nice way. Like if you're a dick back, then they're probably just gonna keep being a dick.
Yeah, so the whole like dig back and forth.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It's horrible.
But yeah, like it actually like a lot. They'll be like, yeah, you're right, I'm sorry, and like that's kind of like a neat.
And sometimes they just don't know it's a person behind there because, like I get pinned on Pinterest sometimes, and people will say not so nice things, and sometimes I'll reply and I'll be like, oh, I thought my thighs were just fine, but thanks. And they're like, oh, I didn't know you could read this. Like, or she's a real person, guys.
I didn't know you could read.
No, like they just don't know that you can see it. And or like we got tweeted to the Game of Thrones Twitter because we were in like Game of Thrones cosplay, and it was super cool. But like me and Liz are chubby, so they were like, oh, it's like the fat versions of these characters. And we replied, and we were like, thanks, we know. And they were like, oh, we're sorry. And we're like,
You're sorry now?
I was like, it's not a big deal. Like it's not a secret. But it's like, yeah, like, did you not think we'd be like, oh, maybe we're on the Game of Thrones Twitter? Like, 4 people tagged us in it, like, immediately. Like, no, we saw it. And I think just little nudges like that, like being positive instead of immediately, like, being mean back, can help people remember, like, oh, there's a person on the other side of the screen. It's so easy to forget when it's just text or just a picture.
It's true too, and I just recently read a study that the more stressed you are as a person, the less empathetic you are to other people. So like, it's really hard sometimes to just like take a step back.
I'm sorry for what I said when I was angry.
You're real mean.
It's like, I feel like this is about me.
There is another part of this that I also want to address. When you see someone who's getting reamed or harassed, and especially when it's obviously someone who's gotten to the point where they can no longer police their own comments, hop in and help. I have reported people on Twitter for threatening other people. I'm like, you know what? I don't know this person personally, but you are not allowed to tell her that you're going to come to her house and skin her alive. You're getting reported. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
So when you see someone doing it to someone else, it can easily be you. It doesn't have to be that. You're not different from that person. You and that person are very much the same. It can be you. These people on the internet who will say those kinds of things to other people, who will threaten other people, don't give a crap who they're actually talking about. They just want to say it to somebody, so it could be you. So take a minute and report them and show support of that other person.
And just to kind of like elaborate on that like quickly, if you do want to jump in, like I've had my friends, I've had people I don't know from Adam jump into the comment section for me when it's just like it's flood after flood after flood. I gotta go to work. I need to go, because when that's happening, it's so scary because you have people like, I'm gonna come to your house, I'm gonna rip your head off. I know realistically they won't, but when you have comment after comment saying that, you don't really know if it's happened. I've been doxxed before. Like, I don't know if somebody's really gonna come to my house now that my address is on the internet. I don't know if people are gonna go to my mom's house. Like, and I can't really explain that to police. Like, I made a World of Warcraft video and now people are mad. They're like, I'm sorry. It's like, sorry about it. I don't know what you really want to do. It's like, fly my police cruiser into the internet, but it's like, when I've had people like,
But maybe someone will dox you with cake for your birthday.
dox you with cake, please, Jesus.
I think we've all been on the receiving end of less than tasteful comments, but as someone who's just recently kind of ventured into YouTube, got some really nasty comments on one of my first videos, and I sweated balls over it for like a week. I was like analyzing my every move, everything I was doing, and those little nudges and gestures of being like nice, you know, it makes all the difference, and it encouraged me to keep going, and it reinforced that I wasn't being a total dumbass. I didn't know what I was doing, because I was just fine. It was just the idiots on the other end. So I can speak from experience. When I first started out, if I hadn't had those positive nudges, I don't know if I would have continued on. So it really does make a difference.
So, kind of boosting off that, so like maybe you guys are sitting out there and you're like, I have a voice and I'm awesome too. How do I get into this? Because you guys totally can.
Can we say show of hands to anybody who wants to start their own media?
Look at all those hands.
Yeah.
So, the animal raccoon paws in the air.
Yeah. I mean, we can expand on this, but the answer is like, you can just do it. Because that's what we did.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And for those of you that maybe aren't interested, like, just know that you do have a voice and you are awesome, because you were like, oh, for those of you who are awesome and have a voice, I'm like, what, that's everybody in here.
Yeah. But I guess, do you guys have any recommendations on, like, when it comes to I don't know, branding yourself or anything? I know that some people have experienced kind of like self-perceived hurdles for how they should present themselves when it comes to that kind of thing, especially as a minority in this culture.
For me, like the best thing that I have ever done for myself is like making sure that if people are leaving me comments, I'm responding to them. Like so they don't like it's just another person that I can watch. It's like, no, I'm here, I'm seeing what you're leaving me. Like this is like that's cool that you take however many minutes out of your day to watch me. That's really cool of you. And respond to your comments, respond to people who tweet you within moderation. I still get weirdos, but and another really odd thing is if you're on Tumblr at all, there will be people who are really not that side of
No, but like you're definitely talking about the fetish side of Tumblr, right? Or like you wear glasses and you're reblogging to my girls wearing glasses blog. You're like, oh great, kids again.
But find people to like collaborate with. Like I have the opportunity going forward that I'm going to be working with an artist that could be considered Tumblr famous, and I'm like, oh, well that's exciting. So like,
It's not so excited.
well, I was like super surprised. They're like, oh, I watch your videos and I make you a thing for your. I was like, okay. So if like somebody approaches you and or even if they're like opening commissions, be like, hey, this is what I do. Do you want to work with me? And of course, do not expect people to work for free. I've seen a couple of YouTubers do that. Don't. It's rude. It's hella rude. Just
Especially if you're not doing any work for free. Like
Even if it's a new trade, that's not free.
Yeah.
I would say there's a lot of different things about branding yourself, but probably the thing I've learned the most in the last year that has been really big on my career is you have to stop second guessing yourself, because if you walk into, like, this is my business, this is what I do professionally, and if this were a different job, if I walked into a boardroom and I wasn't completely confident about what I said, or I second guessed myself, or I said maybe or like a lot, it would be very different from, me walking into the room and being like, I control this situation. Like, this is what I do. Have confidence in what you do. Like, especially if you are on YouTube or if your personality is what you're marketing on. So don't stab yourself in the back by letting that self-consciousness show. Everyone has self-consciousness. We all deal with it in our own way. But professionally, you really have to have faith in yourself, because if you don't have faith in yourself, then all the people that you want to maybe eventually one day give you money for what you do aren't going to have faith in you either.
Yeah.
One other point is, this is something I struggled with, and I see a lot of like newer YouTubers struggle with it. Don't be afraid to try new stuff. Like my videos back when I first started, to me now are like, oh, that's shameful. That's so fun. But like, I'm still trying to figure out like how I want my videos to look. I still make thumbnails a little bit differently. Like, I'm not at the point where I need to worry about consistency as far as like thumbnails go or how I do a video. As long as I'm continuing to be authentic and making videos that I want, then that's all that matters. That's going to show through. But like, if you're worried that you think like maybe this style isn't going to be, try it. Like, the worst that you can look and like post is like, oh, that's a hot pile of garbage. Don't post it. Like, just make another video. Like, like these things are so cheap now. You can just literally take a Saturday and just make a bunch of videos and see which one you like. I was like, that is where I feel I'm the best. Is that I just make stuff, like all the time. Be making stuff. You get better the more that you make them. Like,
and
all the time making stuff.
And my theory is that if you're not embarrassed of you from a year ago or 5 years ago, you're not doing it as you progress. Like, you should constantly be embarrassed of the person you were yesterday, and that's how you know you're still going. You're still the person I am now. And my big thing for getting started, my biggest tip, I wanted to do a blog for years, but I'm like, I'm not interesting, nobody's gonna care. And thank you. But I think the biggest thing is go to the blogs that you like, the vlogs that you like. Watch their very first thing, read their very first post. They're not good either. You're evil. Yeah. They're always going to be not us though.
Oh, my first video is terrible. It's like 5 minutes of footage for like 3 hours of film. 3 hours.
I wore a dress and red lipstick, and I was like, it's an outfit. Like, but like, we all start somewhere, and it's cool going back because you realize, like, oh, all these people that I admire, these people that are doing great, this is their career now, whatever. They all started somewhere. They didn't know how to take photos. whatever, they needed to learn, and the only way that you can grow and progress is by starting. Like, I started doing fashion stuff, and then I was like, oh, I don't actually care about that as much as I care about this geek girl community. That's what I want to nurture instead. And I wouldn't have figured that out by just sitting there and tweaking my blog layout over and over, which is what I was doing. So I think just getting started and knowing that a year from now you're probably not going to like the content you put out, but that's why you just keep doing it.
Yeah, my biggest tip is don't be a dick.
Yeah, that goes a long way because people don't really realize how small this community is.
And if you want to start a brand, chances are you're already branding yourself. You know, people will be an anonymous a-hole on Twitter and then or whatever, and then start a brand a few years later. But people remember that, and like you were saying, it's a tiny industry, and bridges can be burned like that. And that's why it's super important to build bridges and help others build bridges. But do not fucking burn them for anything, because that will bite you, and you will lose out on opportunities. Whether you know it or not, you may already have. So just maybe go to anonymous, like I don't know, start with someone new,
or just don't be mean no matter what. Like there's just no reason for it.
Just don't do it. We went to an event where I was sharing a table with some folks who I did not care for their videos at all, and it was me and another girl, and we were just kind of sitting there, and we were like, we both don't like their videos, but we have to force conversation. We can't tell them that their videos are sexist. What do we talk about? But you have to consider, like, this is a professional space, and it's like, you do it. Why don't you do you, and I'll do me.
Well, when you put it that way.
I think like I don't do videos and rarely stream, and if I do, it's just League of Legends, so it's whatever. But like for the content that I produce, it's mostly just writing, and I do it hobbying. Like I do a little bit of freelance, but I really enjoy my hobby stuff, and so that is free work. So it kind of depends, like when you're starting, what you want to do and like what your goals are. So if you just want to do like a hobby thing, like it's easy enough to just look around and like even like look up here and be like, hey, what do they do? And like even you could reach out to some of us and be like,
oh, absolutely.
Do you have like, I know we could take writers all the time. We have guest contributions like every week, and like Press 30 said, who I left, they use some content on their website now. I'm just saying, but like it's super easy to like get started if you don't have the tools or the knowledge to get started by yourself. Like just ask and someone will help you. So.
And be patient with yourself too. When I started my website, my main goal was to have that get me into E3. And then I thought, once I do that, man, I've made it. Well, 2 years later, I worked my ass off and I got into it, and I found myself like, well, now what? But those first 2 years, I couldn't get in. I was so discouraged and I was so bummed out. But I was patient and I kept working, and eventually I got to it. So don't expect overnight success. I mean, some of you may go viral, and that's awesome and rad, but that's generally not how it works out. So just be patient, have faith in yourself and in your work and in your brand. Keep true to yourself, and you will love it. If you aren't true to yourself and you're not authentic, that will come across, and it will turn into work, and you will not love doing it anymore, and it'll just fall flat.
And those times are hard because we all have different goals we're trying to reach, and sometimes it sucks when you feel like you're never going to get there. But what's really cool is just the journey is really cool because all the people that you meet. Like, try to remember all the positive stuff, like, oh, all the people that are commenting, all the people that I've met through this blog, through this project, whatever. And that helps you realize, like, oh, okay, the journey is fun too.
Yeah, so on that positive note, we have some time for questions if anyone has any. I think there are microphones.
Yeah, there's a mic.
Yes, yours.
Oh,
Well,
there's a microphone.
there's a mic, so can we give people the lineup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I saw her first, so can we just like
Go!
Well,
I would actually run. It's okay.
Yeah, I know it's a big room,
And then
but
fight for it. Oh, wait, there's 2 mics. What are we gonna do?
alternate.
Oh, okay.
Someone go ahead and go first.
Yeah.
Battle it out. I want to see some blood. Let's do it.
Are they on?
Liz is gonna manage it. So nobody fights.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm a woman for 40s. I've been gaming since I was 6, but I'm actually, and I love listening to all these young, beautiful women who are up here, but I'm in a different industry. I'm in medicine and I own a couple companies, and I know all about branding. It took me 14 years to brand myself in my industry, but you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always wanting to do other things. So I want to motivate, you know, women who are in their 40s and their 50s. A lot of women who are in their 40s and their 50s they're on Xanax, they're on Zoloft, they're depressed, they aren't having sex, they don't, like their husbands, they complain about it all the time, they can't wait to get home and drink a glass of wine. So it's like giving them another outlet. Like video gaming for me is a huge outlet. I have my own room, I shut my door, and it's just a way that I can be in touch with myself and get away from all the pressure and the stress that's out there. But I haven't created a YouTube video. So I want to encompass a YouTube video that's going to not only talk about me video gaming, but other things to motivate women who are more my age that are really just not happy. I'm very happy in my life, I'm super passionate, and I want to give that to other people. So my question to you is, when you started on YouTube and started these blogs, how did you market yourself? How did you get out there in PR and get people to start following you?
Okay, first, you're like my personal queen right now. Queen, right there. For me, I kind of took like the annoying approach to it because I didn't know any better, where I would like, when AIM was a thing, can I remember? Yeah. I would be like, I would tell everyone like, this video name. But now it's like, I have Twitter, I'm like, this is my video, I have a video, watch it, don't, whatever. But like, posting schedules have actually been the best thing for me. I'm not in one right now, I'm so sorry. I just moved, give me a break. But posting schedules, if people can rely on something new to see every Tuesday and Thursday, they're gonna continue to come back and like, oh, there's gonna be a new video for me as soon as I get home from work. YouTube has it so you can like schedule things to upload. I always have like a couple videos ready to be uploaded in case like I have a week where I'm living in, like at a convention or something. So that's a really good way. If you know of other women that would benefit from it, send it to them. If you have like a women's group where you work, like promote it there. Like start small, and word of mouth is crazy. Like I actually met somebody last year, I don't know what date it is, at MegaCon. He was like, oh yeah, I watch your videos. I'm like, excuse me. He's like, yeah, my friend told me about it. And I'm like, oh, I think I know of your friend. And then I knew of their friend. So word of mouth is really, really powerful still. It's still the best way to do it.
Do you do your own? You just use like a camera or
I
something?
do. I use this guy, and I have like a little Canon, but I just do it myself.
The other thing that I would say specifically for YouTube is like if you're thinking about, especially with what you're talking about, tying in video games to an overall general lifestyle umbrella, I would make sure that your episodes are structured. So that way the people who watched the first episode are going to come back for the second one because it's a formulaic show, because it's something that they can rely, again with the reliability, the dependability, there's a comfort to knowing what they're going to see. And it gives you, when you're writing your own stuff with no real, pre-subscribed, I guess, format, it can get really difficult to try and create your own format, or to try and do it without a format, and it tends to make you kind of really make points sporadically. So making sure that you have that formula will keep you on task, and it'll keep your audience engaged.
Do you write your own scripts?
I do, yes.
You do?
Except for the Daily Dot, they write that for me. They're very nice. But I laugh, and if I don't laugh, then we change things.
Next question.
I would.
So close. Oh, sorry.
No. Okay. I would get on Facebook and Twitter. Honestly, like it sounds totally cliche, but these women that you're looking for, they're everywhere. They're on Facebook.
Yeah, and I'm all on that, but in a sort of a different, like I have a huge following, but it's under a medical kind of realm.
Tell them it's good for them.
Yeah, I mean,
not necessarily mean it's not real. I mean, that's not a lie, so it's okay.
You can totally leverage that. I mean, you already have followers, and I'm sure some of them like video games, or they know people that like video games, or they're interested. Like, yeah, you've already got it.
Be the one that breaks the stereotype that might be holding a lot of them back.
Yeah.
You know, and it sounds like you're super peppy and excited about life and everything. That's awesome because that's what people feed off of. So if you can just show them like, oh my God, this is so fun, and have such a great time, and it helps me like, relieve my stress, and that's going to be really attractive to them. So I would just keep posting your content. And another thing is, do you respond to every comment? Someone touched on that, but that's the best thing I've ever done. From day one, I respond to every comment, and I've been doing my blog for about 3 years now. And it's saved my ass in so many ways because I've built a really good community. I run a really tight ship, and I'm really interactive and really like on the same page with my followers. And therefore, when I'm excited about something, they're really excited about it too, and they trust my opinion. So.
All right, so gentleman in blue shirt.
Hi. You talked a little bit about comment sections before and how to deal with them. And I watch quite a few YouTube personalities, and while many of them do keep their comments on, I know at least some that have just decided to disable them.
PewDiePie. It's okay, you can say it. It's not.
We've had some videos where we've cut the.
Here's the thing. With PewDiePie, he can kind of afford to. What does he have, like 9 million subscribers?
Well, I'm talking more like people like Matt Lees.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what's your question first?
So my question is like, the people I know who've turned off their comments have just decided, you know, regardless of how many viewers they have, they just don't feel it's worth it. And my question would be, what does make the comment section worth it to you? And have there ever been times where you did consider just, you know, closing it, washing your hands of the whole deal, and just like, screw this, I'm out?
Sounds like Danny has a story.
Like daily, or how many times a day are we talking here?
I've dealt with this myself. Like, there are definitely days when I'm just like, why do I bother with this at all? But it is really like the only outlet that I have. But for me, it's because, like I said before, for every 5 horrible comments, there's one that stands out to me that is a really nice comment. So there's one person getting something out of my videos. And I mean, I still do it, I mean, for me, but I don't know if, I mean, I understand why some people close the comments, because if you are getting floods of hate, it is exhausting. There are days when I'm just like, I will go into my Gmail and I'll just see like 5,000 notifications. Somebody has commented on this video. I'm like, oh boy, what did I do? It's never like a good feeling when I see that many. I want to get to the point where it's a good feeling, like, oh, somebody really liked my stuff. And I'm like, no, somebody's ripping me a new asshole. But it's just, I know that for me, I know it sounds really pompous, but my community needs me.
Well, I think everyone has their own individual threshold. Yeah. That's totally fine to have your own. So,
I would say I keep the YouTube video comments on, because for me it's a way for me to interact with my friends. You know, and I don't like to use the word fans because they're my friends. And I'll be damned if I'll let trolls get in the way and interfere with that. So, I mean, it took a while to build up that thick skin, honestly. But to me, the good outweighs the bad, and the people who are writing nasty comments can just go suck a D. And the other guys, seriously, like, you know, like, I'm not gonna let them stop this highway of communication interaction I can have with my fans.
When we did our, I did a video about Gamergate. I don't know if I should say that.
If you say it 3 times, she'll show
Now we're all gonna get dogs. Like, you did this.
I'm sorry. But we can.
I gotta go.
It's okay, nothing will leave this room, I promise.
Okay, it sounds really creepy. I don't know if you know, but you're like right behind us. That's where the speaker is. I was like, that wasn't reassuring. But thank you.
So I'm actually very lucky because my producer manager runs the channel, so I only get the comments that he sent me, and he was so kind as to only send me the positive comments from that particular video.
Bless.
But I mean, it got to a point where we had a talk. You know, he would talk to me, and he came in the first week and was like, "It's okay, we can do this. We have opinions, and we're going to stick with them." And then the next week, and just like as days went on, I mean, it got to the point where he was suffering a lot of internal pain and turmoil just reading what these people were saying to and about me, not even about him. And so it's totally a double-edged sword, because I completely understand why people would turn off the comments, because some of the things that were just, I mean, not even said, but copied and pasted repeatedly 5 and 6 times over, like not even said out of genuine sincerity, just, I have an opinion that's different from yours, so I want to blast it at you. And it's overwhelming, and it's difficult, and it's painful, and it can just suck the hope right out of you. It's like, oh, everything that I've worked for, and I feel like it's nothing because this, but you have to remember, A, it's one person who's sitting in front of a computer just absolutely determined to make your life hell, so what does it say about that person? But, I mean, B, it really comes down to what Brittany said, which is, you know, which Brittany and Asia said, which is, you know, that 1 or 2 or 3 comments that I get. Now, my pull list videos are all positive comments because it's just people telling me what they're reading. So I have 1 video a week that I know is going to get positive comments, no matter what, from the same people every week. So, I mean, I have that, and that's very fortunate to fall back on. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, it is worth those few people. You have to decide if it's worth having contact with those few people who are arguably the most supportive of you. Because commenting on YouTube is not the first path that people usually take when they want to contact you about your videos, usually, unless they're like really regular and that's something that they do. So, I mean, it's difficult. I can see why people don't do it, but I do it for the same reason that Brittany and Asya do it.
And if you're looking to get into any other form of medium, I'll tell you that as a blogger, most of my negative comments have not happened on my actual blog. Yeah. So I think that's like mostly a YouTube thing. So just know if you're getting into YouTube, it's kind of trickier territory. But if you're looking to write or do other stuff, it's not going to be as bad. I don't get a lot of negative comments, and part of it is I would have to seek them out. But people on YouTube I think they just go to all the videos and comment something mean and then keep going.
So we have time for probably, honestly, unfortunately, like one more question because they called time, but we can go out there afterwards and we'll talk to you.
We'll be around.
Your questions in person.
Please feel free to contact us. Our contact info is on the slide.
On the
so there, tweet us, do whatever. Yeah.
But we'll take our last one. You're up.
First off, thank you guys so much for coming together and doing this panel. I've been really excited about it. So thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Second, I'm getting ready to start a theatrical workshop that is hoping to draw some light on the way that women are compartmentalized, and really kind of drawing out the idea that even anybody, but particularly women, we're autonomous and we can take control of that. What's a situation that you've encountered where you feel like you're compartmentalized, but you found a way to draw that autonomy out of that and really step forward through that?
I'll try and be quick, but I actually have something that happened to me yesterday that I could kind of go on. I was arguing with somebody on Twitter about the movie American Sniper. According to this person, people who are Muslim or Arab are not allowed to comment on the movie because we're biased. I didn't know that. Nobody had made me aware. A memo, hello, send those out. For God's sakes, this is a workplace. But I didn't, I used that experience to be like, hey, these are all of the things that happened to me as an Arab American. And I had an outpouring of support, like, oh my gosh, that happens to me too. That happens to me too. That particular, Twitter flare-up gave me the opportunity to kind of put other Arab, especially Arab women at ease. I had one woman tweet me, like, yeah, I still have to ask somebody to ride the subway with me because I'm afraid of being assaulted, and that was a thing that happened in Australia. People were volunteering to ride public transport with Muslim women because they were afraid of getting the shit kicked out of them. I will stop having opinions about stuff like that when that stops being necessary. So that was an opportunity I could use as a marginalized person to good things. The word is gone.
Yeah, I almost stuck the landing.
We're gonna miss.
As far as being compartmentalized, I think a lot of geek girls in general are put into the geek girl compartment. You're not gonna find one game or one fandom that all six of us all prescribe to, and you're not going to find one. Maybe you will, but it's highly unlikely that you'll find one fandom that we all subscribe to, or one game that we all play, or one.
I'm just saying that if you don't like Game of Thrones, I don't know that we can be friends.
It's my cue. Just kidding.
And I think that as far as compartmentalizing, the only real compartmentalizing that I've experienced in the geek girl media is the assumption that that because I'm a girl and a geek, I speak for all girls and geeks and we're all alike and that we all have the same opinions. And the whole point of what we do and telling more people to do what we do is that we are different and that we all do have different outlooks and opinions, and we want all of those expressed. I don't want to be responsible for speaking for every female geek on planet Earth. That is a lot of responsibility, and I'm lazy. I want more women to come and do what I do, and more people who are from different backgrounds and people of color to come and do what I do, so that I am not responsible for harnessing the opinions of all of those kinds of people. Too much. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. All right. I think we're out of time. Yeah, I'm giving a nod. Yeah. So if you guys want to talk to us, we'll